Yo, 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 what's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Thrive and Dive, thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. And I'm joined here today by three friends. We have Anna Devane, Emma Grotzky, and Hannah Harwick. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, no crickets. We want to applaud these people. Yes. And I am so thankful for their willingness to come on Thrive and Dive, as you're going to hear about in a second. Let me go ahead and share it now. The common theme between these three young ladies is that they are all educators. They're all teachers, and they all teach at the school, Masters Academy of Vero Beach. Shout out to Masters Academy of Vero Beach, a school that actually... Emma, did you ever spend a time at Masters Academy as a student? No? I know Anna did in 6th grade, you said.
Yeah.
Hannah, pretty much her whole life, her whole existence, right? K through 12th grade. Yup. And then I went there for high school, and they're all working there. I used to work there, not anymore. And I wanted to hear in a second, we'll get into it more. What is it like being a teacher, specifically at Masters Academy, but just specifically a teacher in general? And if I, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys all finished your first year. You two, Hannah and Emma, your complete year. And Anna, you came halfway this past 2023-2024 school year. Mm-hmm. Yes. So in a second, we'll jump into that a little more. But before we do so, I want you guys to learn a little bit more about these three young ladies. I want to set the stage, guys. I want to give a little context to our viewers because they might have never seen you before. And I think before we jump into the nitty gritty, it'd be good for them to know some important things about you. So I want to give you that opportunity now. And we'll start with Anna. So what you want to share is up to you, but I for sure want you to tell them where you were born, kind of grew up, and for sure like a fun fact. But if you want to fill any other pieces of information you think is important for Thrive and Divers to know, whether it's how many siblings you have or what's your favorite movie or your favorite color or what you like to do at 12 a.m., when you have nothing the next day, type stuff. Yeah, sleep. Hey, there we go. Again, we have a bunch of teachers here, so we're all studious and we're all not wild childs, right? Yeah. So starting with Anna. Anna, the floor is yours.
Okay. So I am from Cartersville, Georgia, which is up north of Atlanta. And then I moved here to Vero when I was about 9 years old. So I've been in Vero for... I'm not even going to do that math.
Yeah, even though you're a teacher.
Yeah.
You don't teach math.
Art teacher.
Art teacher, yeah. There you go. Big difference.
Big difference. I don't even know what to say. Let's see. My fun fact is that I spent most of my year in Europe last year.
Wow.
I lived in Austria for 3 months.
Let's go.
And then for about 3 or 4 weeks, I traveled between Italy, Holland, England, and Germany.
Wow. There you go. And what were you doing in Austria specifically, but then also throughout Europe?
So for the first part in Austria, I was able to serve at a Christian organization that houses missionaries and also churches in Europe to equip the saints to send them out and to lift them up and encourage them. So that was really cool. It was like in a castle, which was really fun, except for when you have to clean the castle at the end of the week.
Oh, so you're like the maid in Cinderella, or you're like Cinderella in the movie Cinderella.
Basically, yeah, without those step-siblings and the stepmom.
Yeah, that's good. Nice. That's super cool. Awesome. Anything else you want to add before I move over to Emma? Do you have enough slack, by the way? I'm noticing your cord is like... got like a collar on. Here you go. Don't want you have neck problems. You know? There you go.
Kind of pulling it. No, I think that's about it.
Sounds good. So moving over to you, Emma. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, how long you've lived here in Florida, Vero Beach, and a fun fact about you, all the above.
So I was born here in Vero.
A local, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I lived here till I was 13, and then moved to the Orlando area. Lived there until I went to college in West Palm. And then came back here for my student teaching at Masters, and then moved here after.
Let's go. Yeah,
And
shout out
then-
to Palm Beach Atlantic, right? That's where you went. And I remember seeing you when you were doing your student teaching. That was back when I was a teacher at Masters Academy. So glad you had such a good experience as a student teacher. They're like, take me back, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, but as you were.
My fun fact is that we recently went on a cruise and
Ooh.
I was enrolled in a dance battle and I won by doing the worm.
No way. Enrolled in a dance battle. What?
Yes.
Give us the details.
Yeah, well-
Set the stage. What does that look
So it
like?
was-
Is it like orangutan salsa? No, orangutan is a monkey, right? What type of dance we're doing here?
Well, it was just any dance kind of. I mean, it was to break a tie of a different contest we were doing, like a trivia kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So you're a trivia wizard and a dance queen.
I mean, we do win trivia quite often.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
yeah.
We have a young adults Bible study group at the church I work for, and the first Monday of the month we do trivia night, and these three typically win. Yeah. So I mean, they're teachers after all, right? They're certified nerds. Now, play. We're joking about how as a teacher you're just already a certified nerd. It's like you can't get around that. So embrace it. Yeah. Anyway, anything else to add to that, Emma?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Sounds good. And then last but certainly not least, we got Hannah Harwick over here. Tell us some information about yourself, Hannah.
Yeah, so I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and lived there for a little bit, lived in Indiana for a little bit, but then mainly grew up in Florida, in Bureau, and then went away for school for a few years in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And came back.
Shout out to University of North Florida, which fun fact, just because I love giving fun facts, you were roommates with who?
Julia.
Julia Flaming, who is my sister, who's been on Thrive and Dive before. And you guys, I guess, so you went to school, high school together at the Masters Academy. I guess you liked each other enough to be, hey, let's be roommates for another 3 or 4 years or however long you're at University of North Florida.
Yeah.
And you guys still like each other?
Yeah, everybody told us we would end up hating each other, but
You proved them wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. And did you say your fun fact or no?
No.
Okay.
So my fun fact is that I usually end up starting to celebrate Christmas very early.
Ooh.
I'll start listening to Christmas music around like August, September.
What? Really early?
Why not July? Christmas in July.
Yeah.
I
What?
do get a little bit of it, but then yeah.
August,
Yeah.
putting on the Christmas music. Wow. So when does it end though?
Same time, yeah. Like
On Christmas. It's like
New
the
Year's.
full year. Okay. All right. So a little bit of no Christmas music. Oh, that is a fun fact. Interesting. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that context. Now, Thrive and Divers, you know a little bit about these fine folks. And with that being said, I now want to jump into our topic of conversation for Thrive and Dive. And that is, I want you guys to share about the first year teacher experience. So like I said a couple minutes ago, they are all teachers. And I also have the vantage point of being a former teacher, so I'll maybe add some commentary as you guys share. But really, I want to hear just like your heart and your testimony of what it was like being a first-year teacher. What did you learn? What were the highlights? What were the lowlights? You don't have to answer all 3 of those questions in one sitting. But any details you want to share, and we'll start again with Anna. So, what was it like coming halfway through the year, being first? I guess tell us what you teach. You said art. What grades you teach, and what exactly your role is as an educator.
So I teach middle school and high school art. So I have classic, just art for middle school, and then high school I have a portfolio class, which is a little higher level, and then I just have a classic art class. I'm gonna be honest, I was shocked when I came back from England this semester, and I was praying about where to work because I was like, Lord, if you want me to stay in Bureau, I need a job.
Yeah.
And so Emma had already worked there, and we're good friends, and so I was looking at the website, and I just applied it, and I was like, I'll just substitute for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so did not really want to be a teacher, kept praying about it, and I was like, well, there has to be other jobs.
Right. There's got to be something else out there.
Anything else? And the Lord was like, Chick-fil-A, and I was like, oh, maybe not.
Just kidding. As good
I'm
as the
just
Lord's
kidding.
chicken is. You
out
did
to
work.
my
You did work there for a time, right?
Yeah, for 7 years.
7 years. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah. So she's got quite the history with them. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah.
No offense. Michael Kelly's great.
Yeah. Shout out to Michael Kelly, the operator.
Love Michael Kelly.
Yeah.
So I really prayed about it, and they found out that I had a degree in art and an associate's degree. I'm going back to school right now, but
Oh, cool.
I was kind of like, okay, I know art. I studied art. I majored in art. And so they were like, okay, so you're going to come in. And they hired me with no previous really experience teaching. I've been a Sunday school teacher. I've been a camp counselor since I was 14. I was a nanny for 3 years. So I have all this children experience, just not like in the classroom. So I think it was really hard this first year coming in. Halfway through, they had like a completely different teacher than me. And so coming in with a new classroom management skill, like learning that on the fly, adjusting to the curriculum, and like having to be like, okay, so at what level do I keep this much of the assignment? What like time period do I let you guys work on this to turn it in?
Yep.
And then also working with middle school and high school. That was like a big difference for me, as normally nannying or any of the kids I took care of, they were elementary, later elementary, maybe even beginning of middle school, but never like fully high school.
Yeah.
And so that was a new experience for me altogether.
Absolutely. Well, shout out to the former Sunday school teacher. Let's go. What was that? Elementary kids or middle or high school kids when you were
It
doing
was
Sunday school
high
teaching?
school girls. But
Okay.
It was kind of like, I say Sunday school teacher as an overall, but I was a leader at a youth group.
Okay, cool.
So-
Gotcha. Super cool. Yeah, so your experience coming in as a teacher was definitely, not that your guys' wasn't. I want to hear more about how the Lord led you guys to your role. But yours was like, wow, kind of spontaneous. Lord, I need something. And then the Lord, Jehovah Jireh, provided you with this gig, and you're sticking with it next
Yeah.
year. So that's cool. So it wasn't completely horrible.
It wasn't horrible at all.
Oh,
Though
horrible.
I did
Awesome.
have hard times and hard days where I was like, Lord,
Yeah.
you put me in this position. I need help.
Right. If you're going to bring me to it, you got to see me through it type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that you were able to adapt and enjoy, and now you're ready to thrive this next year. On Thrive and Dive. Yeah. Shout out Thrive and Dive again. Yeah. Cool. I will circle back on some more questions for you, Anna, but let's go ahead and move over to you, Emma, on just, man, how we already kind of heard a little bit how you got your foot in the door at Masters Academy as a student teacher. But tell us, what is it like? Tell us again, or I don't think you've told us yet, what grade you teach, and then all that I asked Anna. So over to you now.
So I teach fourth grade. I've wanted to be a teacher ever since like first grade.
That's impressive. Yeah. I remember you telling me that. I'm like, wow. When people like know what they want to be when they're like not even cognitively aware of like what things are. I guess females' prefrontal cortex develops faster than men, but still, first freaking grade. All right. Anyway, keep going.
People tried to talk me out of it for the longest time, and I listened to them for a while, and I tried to think of something else that I would want to do, and just never did. So I thought, well, if I can't think of anything else that I want to do, that must be what the Lord's calling me to do.
Yeah.
So I majored in education, so that's where I kind of have a different experience than them. This is what I went to school for.
Right,
And
right. So theoretically, you should be more prepared than they are. And I was like, yeah, totally. I didn't study this stuff. Come on now.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like going in, I thought, oh, well, I should be prepared. Like I should kind of have an idea of what
Yeah.
I'm doing, but it's so different. Like everything that I learned in college, I feel like it probably helped me somewhat.
Sure,
But
yeah.
like there have been so many times this year and in student teaching where something's come up and I've thought, wow, college did not prepare me for that.
Right, right. Yeah,
They could have never prepared me for that. It's
Sure.
just things that you just learn on the fly.
absolutely.
So, yeah, but I did all of my student teaching in fourth grade, 2 different schools, one public school and then
Oh,
one at
cool.
Masters.
Nice.
So it was cool to see the difference between,
Sure.
Same
Philosophy
grade,
of
but public
education
school and
and just,
private.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
so yeah, I
Cool.
have a new appreciation for the Christian school.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely, yeah, that could be another whole topic of conversation, kind of differentiating between the public school and the private school system, which if time allows, we can go that route. But I want to hear more of your guys' testimonial side. So, Hannah, what about you? What grade do you teach and how that came about? Because as Emma has alluded to, she's the only one who studied for this job. Tell us about what you were doing right out of graduating from University of North Florida, and then how the Lord brought you to where you're at.
Yeah. So as far as when it came time to like figure out what I was going to do after school, I was kind of all over the place. I studied business, and then when I was finishing up, I was thinking and praying about law school, and I didn't have like a hard no from the Lord on it. So I just kind of kept moving forward with that. And so towards the end of getting my degree, I ended up working at the public defender's office in Jacksonville. And in that role, I was interviewing inmates in Duval County. And I'm so grateful for the experience, and I definitely learned a lot, and like I wouldn't trade it, but it was very difficult. And I was still studying, like I was taking the LSAT, I was going through all of the application processes for law school, but it was just like slowly wearing me down. And again, in prayer, I just didn't have a yes that I was waiting on. And so, eventually there came a point, there was a conference with my church, and they brought in Tim Tebow, and he shared a message. I tried so hard. I remember after work, I like raced to church and I tried to make it, and then it was packed and I couldn't get in. So I just went home. I watched it. None of my roommates were at the apartment, and it was like, do hard things. You have to just push through. And like, I'm sure it was a great message, but just at that point, I was just having like so many difficulties at work. And so I was just like, God, I can't do this. Like, I know that this whole message.
It was so tough that Tim Tebow couldn't inspire you out of this rut.
I was like, God.
God, I mean, I know Tim Tebow's a stud muffin and does some great things, but golly, I need something more. Sorry, anyway.
But yeah, so I was like, I know it was the complete opposite of what the message was on, but at like that night, I just went to the Lord and I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to end up doing this. And like I said, I hadn't heard like a yes from the Lord that this is what I should continue in. And then actually it was like that night or the next day, like I looked back and I had like written out some prayers, and one of the things that the Lord had put on my heart was teaching, but I was like, I don't know. And then, just slowly, like there kept being more things that were being revealed. And then like Dr. Smith had mentioned to my mom, and he had made a comment about like, oh, there's going to be some teaching positions next year. And then just, again, there were just more things that kind of kept aligning. And, so I ended up quitting that job. I worked at Chick-fil-A until my lease finished out. But then I was
did you work at Chick-fil-A ever, Emma?
No.
Oh, dang, because I worked at Chick-fil-A, so we could have had the whole Chick-fil-A posse here.
Sorry.
Boo, what do you work at, like Publix or Popeyes or something?
No, I only ever coached gymnastics.
Oh, that's pretty cool too, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Back to you, Hannah.
Very good. Yeah, but I worked at Chick-fil-A until I finished out my lease, and then I ended up moving here. And so I don't think I mentioned it, but I teach 5th grade. And originally when I was talking about like position here, it was middle school, but then they kind of decided like, hey, we think 5th grade would be a good fit for you. So I'm like, okay, I'll go for it. But I ended up loving it, and like I feel like that's the perfect spot and where God wanted me.
That's awesome. Super cool. Wow. So there you have it, folks. Just a little bit of a taste of how they got to where they're at. And now I want to circle back. We don't have to go in a particular order, like Anna, Emma, Hannah again. It's like, why do I always go first? It's like, yeah. So I want to hear what is one of the biggest, and you guys have already kind of alluded to some lessons, but what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned, whether it's spiritually in your relationship with the Lord, or just professionally as a person, or just like, growing up, right? What is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from this first year of teaching? Yeah, Emma, let's go.
I feel like 2 things that I've learned this year are consistency and flexibility.
Ooh.
And those are like 2 things that I think are really helpful in teaching, but also in life.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, with like classroom management, like if you're not consistent, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I've like learned throughout the year, but also like I can apply that to my own life. Like if I'm not consistent in anything, like if I'm not consistent in like reading my Bible and like just quiet time with the Lord and just studying, like I don't get the benefits of it like I would if I was consistent. And then flexibility is kind of more in teaching, but
Right. Yeah.
just things are not going to go how you plan them. And
Right.
that's okay. Sometimes they turn out better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, like, I can plan all day long, but some of the best things that have happened in the classroom have been just come up with on the spot.
Absolutely. And I definitely feel that flexibility, yeah, while it was more geared for you as a teacher, definitely transfers over to all other areas of life as well. A phrase that I've been told to work on, because I guess I'm not too good at it, is be more interruptible. I don't know if that's an actual word, but it's the word the person used. And basically be okay with being interrupted.
Yeah.
And stop being so, because I'm task oriented by nature. I like getting my things done. And if there's an interruption, I'm like, can we do this some other time? Can I finish what I got started over here? Right. And that flexibility, though, is being able to, no, I'll stop my task and come back to it and help whatever person out with their thing. Obviously, there's boundaries, and you can't always be like doing gymnastics and, you wear a gymnastic t-shirt and bending it backwards for everybody type stuff, or else you're going to snap at some point. But yeah, then the consistency part. Yeah, actually, because I just finished my last year at Masters Academy this past year. One of the last professional developments I remember hearing was actually from, I think, your mom, Hannah. A shout out to Robin Harwick, who works at Masters as well. Yeah, man, we got a whole posse at Masters Academy. And her and I think Dr. Smith were talking about consistency and how that's an important character trait even of a woman or man of God, specifically a teacher, but just for any Christian, regardless of whatever field you guys are in, you're listening, the listeners are in, is that, man, if you're not consistent and you don't have a standard that you live by or you hold people accountable to, then no one's really going to respect the criteria, because you're going to continue to compromise it or change it for people. And it's just not a good way to lead. It's not a good way to live. So it's awesome. Cool. Hannah or Anna, biggest takeaway or lesson you learned from your first year teaching?
I can go.
Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors.
So the thing that I was actually the most nervous for, that I feel like I learned the most about this year, was just when it came to like disciplining students. Because I feel like before I taught, one of the reasons I was even hesitant to like do anything with kids is because I was always the like backup babysitter, because I worked at AAA, so it was just like odd jobs here and there.
Yeah.
And so it was just like single times with kids that I didn't know, and I'd go in and I don't have a relationship with them, so I'm like, I don't know how to handle this if they misbehave or if they're not listening.
Sure.
Because they don't know who I am. And so going into the school year, I just didn't know how all that was going to go. But I'm super thankful. One of the things that was really cool is that like in our curriculum, for our Bible class, the whole year we were going through the Old Testament, which I feel like is very heavy. And one of the themes that we really emphasized was just how like the Lord disciplines those he loves, and how he would continually point the Israelites back to him, and like they would have to deal with some consequences, but it was for their good, and it was because he loved them. And so having that reminder like built into our lesson plans for me as a teacher, knowing that those moments when I have to correct them, even though it might not be fun and not be something that I want to do, I know that it's because like I love my students, and I am thankful that in the classroom I get to see them all the time and build those relationships with them. So that's definitely what I learned a lot more about this year, and even to like the way that I would discipline them, and then later I could reflect on and see the parallel of like, okay, so that's how when you discipline me, I can kind of see the Lord's love in that. So
That's awesome, Hannah, because I would actually agree with you. When I was a teacher my first year at Masters Academy, that a fear of disciplining students was definitely a thing that was like, I'm not looking forward to this. I just want to be their friend, I want to disciple them, not discipline them. But then you realize that part of discipleship is discipline. And if you neglect to discipline, you're actually neglecting to love them, right?
Yeah.
We're obviously not parents. Hopefully one day we all will be, but from what I've learned from my parents is that, man, if you don't address the issue and you are just negligent or just chill and let people do whatever they want, then you're really doing a disservice to the child, because they're going to develop patterns that could have been corrected if you did your due diligence as a teacher or parent to correct in the moment, even when it's hard. And talk about consistency, right? Because when you correct, you got to be consistent with the correction. I know from you when I was a teacher, I'm like, how about I just put the standards so low that I don't have to be like micromanage? And not that micromanage, we're not talking about micromanaging, because I don't agree with micromanaging, but like if I set it so low, I won't have to worry about disciplining everybody, right? But if I set it high and set a high standard, that means I got to be like watching everybody and being consistent, right? And really, that was just laziness from me. So it's just interesting that you mentioned that, Hannah. So yeah, great thoughts, guys, on that. You guys probably already kind of bundled this next question into your answer, maybe. Well, actually, I'm going to switch gears. Let's do more on the lighter side. I was going to ask you what has been the hardest part, but you kind of already addressed it. I want to hear just like your favorite memory from this past school year, whether it was a moment with a student or something even with a fellow coworker or Dr. Smith. I mean, Dr. Smith gave you a pat on the back and like, man, we're so glad you're here. You're like, oh my goodness, I feel appreciated, right? But just like a favorite, that was awesome. That's what makes me want to come back next year and continue doing what I do. So no particular order.
I'll go. So on top of being a art teacher, I got to teacher aide at the 3rd grade classroom. And so that was a hard class this year. And I love them all.
Enough said.
But so some of the kids, it really took a lot for me to like slow down and learn how to speak to all of them completely differently. Because some of them reacted better to, hey, stop it. And then others, you would have to get down and you would be like, hey, friend, like, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? How are you reacting?
Yeah.
And so there was one particular student that he was really struggling with being the middle child now. He had a baby sister and he wasn't used to that environment at home. And so we were able to pray multiple days where he would come to me being sad and having a hard day. And I was like, okay, do you want to pray? Do you want me to pray? Do you want to pray together? Like, let's bring this to God, because we talk to God like we talk to our friend, and we tell him everything that's going on in our life right now. And so that was really cool to be able to pray and also have some of his classmates come and pray with us all together. Like,
that's so cool.
And be with him, and especially just watching the love of Christ flow out of other students at that age, being so young, of like being 8 or 9, and just like understanding that we are a church together and we have that community, and they would pray together and they have the biggest hearts for each other. It was great. It was an amazing experience.
Wow, that's awesome. And you mentioned something, Anna, that I know rung true for me during my 4 years of teaching. The idea that, and that actually goes back to Emma, your flexibility, your flexibility point that you made. And that is each student is different in the way they learn. In the sense of like how they receive information or how they receive correction or even comfort, right? And that drove me nuts as a teacher at first. I'm like, are you serious? I can't just teach the way I want to teach and hope everybody just receives it and like, all right, we're good. I don't need to break it down or, provide a cute illustration or an example. Can I just tell them how it is? And, they pick up what I'm putting down, students, or get left behind, right? But isn't it true as a teacher, regardless of 5th, 4th, or high school or middle school, is that you really got to slow it down, right? And what separates some of the best teachers from the good teachers, in my mind, when I was in high school, it's just the teachers that are able to package the information and make it simple and bring it to us in a way that we can actually like chew on it. So, yeah.
And like also just changing grade levels too. As like there was times that I would go straight from 3rd grade or like having to substitute sometimes as a teacher aide, filling in, going from 3rd grade, going to 5th grade, to going to like 8th grade one day, and then like high school the next minute, and like having to constantly learn how to like change my approach of every class was like, for the first couple weeks, was such a challenge.
Yeah.
Because I was just like going in and be like, okay, I'm going to talk to you like a 3rd grader. But I'm like, wait a minute, you're in 5th grade.
Right,
okay,
yeah.
Going in
I
to talk
can't
to
imagine that. That's wild. Yeah. Especially when you're
address
hopping.
different things and like slow down.
Yeah.
Really have to like pause and recollect everything that I was going to say and be like, hey, let's just say it this way instead.
Right. And that just takes awareness, flexibility, a sensitivity to the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit can help guide and be like, all right, you need to slow it down, which is awesome. But definitely being more patient, because I want to be cookie cutter. You can't treat students like they're cookie cutter exact copies. Yeah. Hannah or Emma, what has been your like biggest highlight of the year? And it's like, man, that was such an awesome moment. I'm so glad that happened.
I actually had one student that accepted the Lord this year.
Let's go.
And
Round
I
of
was
applause.
just
To oh, wow, that's a cricket one. Yeah. Except for the Lord. No, that's not a cricket manner. That's more like an air one. Yeah. Receives Jesus as Jesus as the Lord and Savior. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so it was just like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
To be able to like walk with her through that and just be there for her questions and worries and like just to pray with her and just be there through all of it.
Yeah.
It's just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And so like thinking back over the year, that was just the biggest highlight for me.
That's
Like,
awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
for
it's
those,
Sorry.
yeah. No, keep going. Keep going.
That's like something that I had prayed for a long time.
Yeah.
That like God would allow me to like be a help to a student.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really cool to like just see that come to fruition.
Right,
So-
absolutely. God gave me an opportunity to actually like see it happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things, like I alluded to earlier. You know, the difference between a public education, a Christian education, is that I've never been in public education, so I can't speak on that behalf. But from what I hear, you don't have as that much of a freedom to share the love of Christ. I guess you have experience as the teacher
Yeah.
aide, and like, wow, what an opportunity, right? Obviously, there can be Christian teachers at a public school and share the love of Christ in more covert ways, which is awesome. We need that too. But yeah, that's so cool, Emma, that you got to experience that. And then Hannah?
Yeah. So one of my favorite moments, or probably this is my favorite moment from the year. It's a really small one, but I feel like that's something that I've talked to the students a lot about in my class, is that like the small little moments are so important, which I think your dad actually talked about during a devotions one Tuesday
My
morning.
dad works at the school too. It's a whole family affair. Yeah. Yeah.
But he had spoken on that, and that's something that I've tried to really focus on with the kids, is like whatever people don't see behind the scenes, like whatever seems like a moment that could easily be passed over, like those are the moments that you really got to show the character that the Lord is developing in you. And so my favorite moment, we were going out to recess one day and everybody was in a line. They always go to the edge of the sidewalk, and then I tell them like they're good to go, and they all take off.
they're just eager,
Yeah,
like, wait,
they're lined
this
up
is
and
how we're
ready.
going to tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the girls, I guess her shoe had come untied on the way down, and so one of her laces was on the ground, and a student had stepped on it, and so she was going to take off too, but then she ended up tripping and she fell down. And so everyone else had taken off, but then there was another girl who was behind, and she had seen what happened. And then I was about to go over and check on her and make sure she was okay and everything, but then I just like paused for a second and hung back, and then the girl who was behind came up to her and she was like, "Are you all right?"
Wow.
And I could tell the girl who was on the ground, she was kind of frozen and then like just shaken up by it.
Yep.
Didn't want anybody to like see or have any attention. And then the girl who was checking on her, she like got down with her, put her arm around her, and she's like, "I'm sure that was so scary. Like that was scary for me too. I was hoping you're okay."
Wow.
And then she just like stood down there with her, sat down there with her while she fixed her shoe. And then she was like, "Why don't you come over and we can like go off and play something?" But she invited her to like go with her, and they walked over together. And so I just like love that little small moment, how she like waited behind. She could have taken off and started
Yeah.
to enjoy her recess, but she wanted to check on her friend. And then like my job, I didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah,
like I was going
absolutely.
to go over and check on her, but one of my students like just loved and cared for one of her classmates. So
Yeah, that's awesome when those things happen, Hannah. When you see students, you know, they can be knuckleheads, sure, whatever, great. Especially middle schoolers, like, oh my goodness, you middle schoolers out there, you gave me the few gray hairs I have right now. Oh man, when I was able to move from middle school just to high school, I praise the Lord a little more that year. No offense, but even with middle schoolers or high schoolers, but then specifically with your grades, like when students, you know, man, care for each other, right? What we're teaching them is actually not just gone in one ear and out the other. It's touched their hearts, right? And they're starting to apply it. You know, those are the moments where it's like, oh, I just want to cry a little bit as a teacher, because you're just so proud. So that's so cool. Well, guys, this has been great, and we're making some. I need to land the plane here as we finish up this episode. But before I do that, any other last final comments you want to make? Kind of a little lightning round here. As you kind of close up this chapter, right? You're no longer a rookie. You are now a second-year teacher. You're kind of, I guess, still a rookie.
I was gonna say, I'm still a rookie.
You still got the first.
Still feel like a rookie.
Yes, but no, you're going your second year. How are you feeling? Or any last comments now as we close this podcast?
I think going into this next year, I one, I'm so excited to go into the next year because now that I feel like I've got my grounding and I am like more confident in where the Lord has placed me, because the end of the year was like a hard one, like going into it. And I know I definitely made a lot of mistakes as a teacher, as like speaking out of anger versus out of love, or like not being slow to speak, and knowing that like I butt heads with students a lot. I think this year I'm already starting to pray for it, is just to be more gentle as a teacher, especially with middle schoolers, because they're going through so
Sure,
much
yeah.
in 3 years that I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But I'm like so excited this year, one, to get to start a new program at the school, and then as well as just being able to be friends with them and know that, not friends. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah. I
As
get
much
what
as I
you're
love you guys,
saying. We're not friends.
I am still your teacher. But just to love them on a deeper level and like know where they're coming from and know their behaviors now, and being able to tell where their limit is.
Yeah.
And like handling situations, because before, I don't know if you've had a good day or a bad day. I can't tell by your body language or how they're reacting. Like, I didn't get enough time with them. So I'm really excited this year to be able to be like, okay, this is where I know you are, and this
Yeah.
is where you're having a bad day. Let's talk about it. Let's pray about it. Let's handle it. Especially being solely middle school, high school this year.
Yeah.
I'm stepping away from elementary, which I'm
Oh.
really sad because I won't see them as much.
Oh, snap. Separation.
Hey, what's up with that?
yeah. That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties. I feel so sorry for you guys that you guys don't get to experience this as elementary school teachers. But when it comes to upper school, coming back that second year, I remember it's like, you have history with those students now, right? And you like build relationships, and like, oh, how was your summer? And it's like you have a foundation to stand upon. With elementary school teachers, you get a fresh new batch of students. That is the sad part. But you're with them all year. You get to invest more than one period a day that the upper school has. So there's pros and cons. Yeah, exactly. So I talk about separation anxiety or whatever the term is. Like you have to like shoo off your class and shoo off like, oh, to stay with us another year, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, that's going to be a treat for sure, Anna. Any closing comments from you too? Nope. You don't need to make anything up. If there's any final words.
I feel like something I'm looking forward to next year is like, now that I have taught everything at least once,
Yeah.
now I can like add to it.
Absolutely.
Like,
That foundation is set, and I can get to add, be more creative, and that's such
I
a treat.
remember
Yeah.
the day that I realized that I was teaching something in math that I had already taught in student teaching.
Yeah.
It was so exciting. I was like, I've already taught this.
Let's go. Now I can be like, the whole year I've already taught this. Let's go.
Like, oh, I remember this. Like,
Yep.
this went well. This didn't. I need
Yeah.
to change this. So I'll be able to like.
And hopefully you took good notes,
Refine it
because
a
for
little
me, I did not record a whole lot of my lesson plans are awful. Just being honest, and like, how did I do this last year? So, I wish I wrote that down in a little more detail. But I'm sure you guys have more in-depth lesson plans. I think you kind of have to be, right? From what I hear. Got standards to keep. Not that I didn't have standards in upper school, but yeah, they do. Yeah. I was a Bible teacher anyway. It's like, yeah, I can get away. No, they ain't gonna be on the SAT. Anyway, Hannah, any final thoughts, closing thoughts?
Not really. I mean, I just really enjoy it. Like I said before, I didn't know when I was graduating high school or even college, like what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I just really love where the Lord has placed me and feel confident that I'm where I should be. And it's cool too. I will actually add this one thing. Like having been a student at Masters and then coming back, like one of the things I was fearful of thinking about the position is like, I don't want to go back just because it's comfortable or easy. But I feel like it's actually been a huge blessing, and it's like something the Lord's equipped me with to have that familiarity.
Yeah.
And so then that's also helped me to like be more confident in a position that I didn't go to school for. Or,
Sure. Right.
have experience in. So
That's awesome, Hannah. Cool. Well, great job, guys. Round of applause to Emma, Hannah, and Anna. Let's go. Thank you so much for being on Thrive and Dive. Well, folks, this is Thrive and Dive. Thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. Have a good rest of your day.